In case you haven't noticed, I like flexing Filipino culture. But during my research about it, this video randomly popped up and it got me curious. What is it that makes Filipino culture toxic? So I started thinking, if I was going to watch it, why not react to it instead so that I can share my honest and unfiltered thoughts to you guys. So without further ado, let's see what this person has to say about Filipino culture that makes it toxic. Let's go.
Today's video is going to be why I think Filipino culture is toxic. If you're Filipino, you definitely recognize or have heard those phrases before. Those phrases have become our cultural markers. Doesn't matter where you grew up, how old you are, who your family is, you've definitely heard those phrases, whether it be from your own family or your friends' families. Though it can be seen as, yeah, whatever, it's a playful joke, haha, laugh it off, shrug it off like it means nothing.
What is it?
It can actually be seen as a coping mechanism for someone who's stuck in the cycle, the toxic cycle of the degrading comparison culture in the Filipino family. Major disclaimer here, by no means am I putting down the Filipino culture. I am a proud Filipino woman. I know that this is a super controversial topic. I am not putting down the Filipino culture whatsoever. I'm proud to be Filipino and I will happily express that to anybody. I'm simply just voicing an opinion of those who maybe are afraid to say it out loud, of those who are afraid to speak up to their families and to their parents.
What is it that people are afraid to speak about Filipino culture being toxic? Let's find out.
Also, I'm not saying that the following only apply to Filipino culture. These things happen in pretty much every single culture there is. I want to instigate change not only in the Filipino families, but in all families. Anyways, let's just get right into it. As a Filipino Canadian growing up, I've realized and I've noticed that a lot of my Filipino friends went through experiences as I'm about to describe. First, let's talk about this comparison culture. As a Filipino kid, it's quite often that we hear, "Why can't you be more like your ate?" Or, "Do you see the kids down the street doing that thing, huh?" Or...
You can obviously see the spark in my eyes when I heard that because I could truly relate to it. Like the comparison in my family is rampant. Like, yo, why can't you be like your cousin? You know, you gotta be this, you gotta be that kind of culture, which is annoying as heck. It still goes on even today. Leave a like if you can relate to it, guys.
"You're going to become doctor just like your kuya." Or some form of comparison, whether it has to do with grades, your appearance, the way you act, the type of person you are, everything. There are countless times where I've heard my friends' parents say, "Why can't you be more like your friend?" right in front of my face.
That is really very common here in the Philippines. I don't know how it is in other cultures, but that is very common where I grew up. You know, I almost feel bad about my brother because, you know, growing up, I was good academically. I learned faster than my younger brother, and I would hear it in our face from my mom in front of our relatives' faces saying, "Hey, Abraham, why can't you be like your kuya who has better grades than you?" That is crazy. Looking back at it now, it's just awkward and annoying. I'm sorry to be saying this to my mom who has already passed away. God rest her soul.
Like, what? Why is this toxic? Having this constant comparison.
Why don't you be more like your cousin? Why don't you be more like your sister, more like your brother? Why don't you be more like this family?
Dang. In your face is like your parents telling you you're not good enough and you need to be more like this person.
It
makes
sucks.
us feel like we suck and that you're not proud of us. And it's just so unhealthy for a child's growth and development, especially their mental well-being.
I will never ever do that to my kids.
Imagine the people that you're closest to and that claim that they love you the most and they want the best for you are the ones who are constantly making you feel like you're not good enough. This constant chatter in our ear, this constant pressure to be perfect, this constant pressure to, you know, be a good girl, be a good boy, you know, don't hang around with gangs. Don't listen to rap music. It takes a toll on us.
Jeez, Grant, this is so funny because my wife still tells me to not listen to rap music. It's real, okay? It's so crazy that it is so relatable. It still happens today.
Kids, and we carry that as an adult. That's what creates our insecurities. Now, for any parents watching, I get it. You want your kid to be the best version of themselves. You want your kids to live a life that you never had. You want the best for your kids and only the best.
I just remembered a line, a favorite line of Filipino parents that is very common. They would normally say that you don't know pain. You have no idea what we went through back in the day compared to what you go through now, which is kind of crazy. It even happens to the fandoms, right? I'm a part of 18, Espendine's fandom, and there's this fandom called Aurum, and some people, not all of them, some Aurum would be entitled to say that you have no idea how hard the dark past was. So that means our opinions have better weight than yours, since you are just a new fan. You know, it happens. That's the Filipino culture right there. History repeating itself, and it's real.
I get that. But by comparing your kids to other people, you're putting a hindrance on their confidence. You're making them feel like they aren't enough for you. They will do everything in this world to try and get your approval because they love you too. But comparing them is not going to motivate them to want to do better in school.
No.
Comparing them to other people is not going to make them want to become a doctor. Comparing your kids to other people is only restricting them and restraining them from becoming a confident, independent, self-sufficient, intelligent person. You don't want them to have a low self-esteem. You don't want them to grow up feeling like, I can't do anything in this world because I am not like so-and-so. Let's move on to talk about these playful, funny comments made by our families that are actually hurtful as okay.
I wonder what it is.
All my Filipino kids, how many times you guys go to a family gathering, hella food on the table, pancit in one corner, some palabok in another with the lumpia.
I miss it.
The ones, you know, you got the rice on deck. Titos are around the table taking shots, drinking. The titas are taking up one little corner of the couch, you know, talking chismes, talking about their Louis V bags, their MK bags that they just got, you know, 30% off.
No way.
And you enter.
This is so real, guys, because my titas, my titos, no, especially titas, they enjoy flexing like real hard. Like they would show off their shoes with expensive brands, telling an unbelievable story of how they got a huge discount in getting it, and all that type of chismes, guys. Like gossip is #1 here in the Philippines. It's basically just a part of the culture. We enjoy gossip so much. We like to brag. It's just how it is. I saw that in my mom growing up. Like she would flex everything she has, and you know, our new house, our new freaking cassette tape. She would show that off to our relatives, and that's just how she was. You know, I'm not saying that she's a bad person, but that's just how she was. It could be just whatever she saw when she was, you know, growing up.
You enter the room, right? And one of your titas goes, "Psst, halika dito. Tumaba ka na." For
now,
Filipino,
everything she says is just so relatable to me. In my family though, when they say na tumaba ka na, you're getting fat, when they say that, they actually kind of mean it positively, because in our family, when you are fat, you are seen as healthy. You are seen as someone who's eating right. When you are thin, that means it's a bad thing. Your family's not taking care of you. So I didn't really saw it as offensive, but it can be to some people. It can get awkward witnessing their conversations, like your mom and her siblings, all girls, they're talking about how fat one sibling has become over the years. Wow, that's gotta be so awkward, especially thinking about what goes on the person's head while she was being called that. It's just so funny looking back at it.
I just said, hey, you've gotten fat. Who says that to anybody? In the world that we live in, where it's 2020 and fat shaming is something that should not be done, period. Imagine fat shaming.
And if you complain about it, they would call you oversensitive. You know, they would call you weak or something like that, you know?
From your own family member. That shit hurts. I remember growing up and people telling me,
you need to lose weight.
That's the first thing that would come out of their mouths. They'd be like,
hi, you know, you need to lose some weight.
Sorry.
Like, how are you?
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thanks. Even though it seems like it's just a joke and it's playful, as a young person, you take those things to heart. Like subconsciously, those words affect you. If a kid hears that enough times, they're gonna start to believe that they are fat, even though sometimes they aren't. And they carry that with them until they're adults. They constantly feel like they're not good enough once again. They don't see their self-worth because everybody around them, because the people that are closest to them are putting them down and belittling them, making them feel small. It shouldn't work like that. I'm sorry, but it shouldn't. For all the parents, for all the titas and titos watching this, why do you make those comments?
Yeah, they will even say, "Oh, taba-taba mo na. You're so cute. Just adorable and taba-taba mo na." But in my opinion, the better thing to do is to really just be more sensitive to your surrounding, to your kids, to your relatives. Kasi nga, some people who might be called those terms might get offended. I think the parents from the last generation just needed a little bit more of awareness, I guess, because our culture back then didn't pay as much attention to these kind of things na nakaka-offend pala ng other kids, right? And I agree. I would agree to her.
Why do you say that to your niece or nephew or to your own kids? What is your goal in trying to say that? Why aren't you uplifting them? Why aren't you complimenting them? You are their family. You love them, don't you? You want them to succeed. You want them to be happy and healthy. So contribute to their growth. Contribute to that happiness. Contribute to that confidence. Build them up and don't break them down. The last thing I want to talk about is elders dismissing the opinions, the voice of the younger people, the kids.
Sumasagot-sagot ka pa. Sumasagot-sagot ka pa. That is a very common line, guys.
As a Filipino kid, how many times have you tried to go to your parents to tell them that this is what you want to do for your future? And they say,
What? How are you going to make a living out of that? That's not the path I want you to take. You are going to be a nurse.
How many times have you gone to your parents trying to tell them you're feeling sad and depressed? And they dismiss you saying,
No, you're not. You're being maarte.
I was just talking about that earlier, right? They will call you weak if you like feeling down, if you complain or something. Like, you know, you get offended by being called fat. You're weak. You're oversensitive or something to that regard, you know?
That means dramatic. First and foremost, I just want to say to the parents watching this, 1, mental health is a real thing. 2, not only science-based careers like the medical field, healthcare are the only option to making money. 3, when you dismiss us, you make us feel inferior to you. You make us feel afraid. You are instilling fear.
And this kind of setup tends to lead to rebellion. Some kids would start doing things they don't tell to their parents, and most of the time it doesn't really end well. So we need to be very careful.
Within us. You're basically setting up your relationship with your child to be one full of rebellion, secret keeping, resentment. When you dismiss us, it makes us feel like we can't come and talk to you. I noticed a lot of my friends growing up were too scared to go to their parents when they wanted to talk to them about something. They were afraid to tell their parents how they really feel, afraid to voice their opinions. It makes us feel like we have to keep these thoughts to ourselves, finding out the hard way. It is so important that you validate your child's opinion, that you validate your child. You make them feel like they are being heard.
Let me just say that I am so lucky to have my mom as my parent because we had a very open relationship. It didn't even matter if I did something bad or wrong as long as I'm telling her and we work it out eventually. I think it's a good practice for parents to start talking to their kids. Don't dismiss their opinions. If they have something to say, hear it. Allowing your kids to talk and voice their opinions doesn't really mean that they're disrespecting you. It's just empowering them to let their voices be heard, which means better morale, better relationship between the child and the parent, in my opinion. All right, I'm a young parent. I have 2 5-year-old kids. I am not a perfect parent myself, but I definitely agree for the most part in whatever this person is saying right now.
You have to acknowledge what they're telling you. It already takes a lot of courage for a young person to go up to their parent or to their elder and tell them anything. Once we built up that courage to talk to you and you dismiss us like that, it crushes our soul, it crushes our heart. It's so important for a child to feel love, attention, validity, and a sense of belonging. When you dismiss us, you don't contribute to any of those factors. You make us feel small. From personal experience, my parents, who are both Filipino, they have always told me to keep it 100 with them. I am so fortunate that from day one, my parents have opened up the line of communication and have told me that whatever it is, it doesn't matter if I did something wrong. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. They opened up that door of communication and they said, Giselle, you can tell us anything. I am not a parent and I'm not trying to tell you how to parent your kid, but the guidance I got from my parents, from us having an open and honest relationship, It's crazy.
Man, she is very lucky indeed. Some parents here in the Philippines, they would just tell you that if I say you jump, you jump, for the most part. I'm not saying that all families here in the Philippines are like that, but most parents, especially the older generation, have that mentality. And if you start questioning their ways, they would accuse you as someone who disrespects the elders. Just because they are a parent and you are the younger generation, it doesn't mean that you don't have a say to things. So I hope that changes. And it all starts with us younger parents and the people who are about to be parents to break that cycle, you know?
Without them, I would probably be doing drugs. I wouldn't be the woman I am today. For future generations, I want kids to be able to express themselves, to feel like they're valued and that they're not just kids, that they too are human beings. I understand from the parent perspective, you see us as kids, like we don't know any better, like we don't know anything. You need to stop dismissing us. We might not know everything, we have our thoughts and opinions just like you do, and we deserve to be heard. Moving towards the future, what changes are you going to make? As I've said in the beginning, my goal here today was to instigate change. And as parents, I know you want the best for your kids. You need to give them an environment where they feel that love and that attention, where they feel a sense of belonging, that they are worth it, where they feel confident, where they feel like they can be themselves. Have you ever heard someone say, "Oh my goodness, I'm starting to sound more and more like my mother"? Because it's true. We mimic the environment we grew up in. We become another version of our parents. Parents, how you treat us is how we will treat our own kids. So for
not all the time. Sometimes we use it as a lesson to do better and break the cycle, you know.
Parents who are watching this, whether you're Filipino or not, please stop with the comparison and the negative comments. Uplift us, compliment us, build us up, and don't break us down. Don't shut us out. Listen to us. Embrace open communication. Just like you, we make mistakes. Who better to have to help us learn from those mistakes than you, our parents, our family? And I also have a message for the young ones watching as well, the kids. Respect your parents. Having this open and honest relationship with your parents, that doesn't mean you now have the right to disrespect your parents. Doesn't mean you have the right to talk back. Just because you can voice your opinions to your parents doesn't mean you know everything. Keep in mind that they want the best for you, and you should do your part by respecting them. 2, communicate with your family. By having an open and honest relationship with your family, it makes things so much easier.
Yep.
Imagine being able to share your dreams and your hopes for your future with the people that love you the most. Don't be afraid to voice your opinion. It's gonna be scary. It's gonna take some courage, and it's gonna take a couple tries before you get this whole communication thing down. Communication works in both ways. It's a give and take. You talk, they listen. They talk, you listen. For anybody who's grown up in this toxic environment, it's never too late to make a change. If you feel afraid to talk to your family, if you feel like you're not good enough for your parents, just know that they love you. They're doing their best as parents. There's no book telling you step by step how to be a parent. They are doing their best from what they know. I believe that if both the parents and the kids try, they can have a healthy, open, trusting, uplifting, positive relationship.
Yeah, I think it all boils down to the ability of accepting feedback. There are people who just refuses to accept feedback. Feedback is something that you may or may not apply. You just need to be willing to listen to feedback. And if you think it's good, if you think it's bad, it's up to you. Some people just refuse to accept that, and it kind of irks me a little bit. But other than that, I completely agree to this person's perspective. But I'm not saying that that culture that she's talking about is entirely toxic. In fact, it's good for the most part. It really depends on the kid and how he or she would react to the situation. That type of culture, for the most part, made us a very respectful race, hospitable. We really look up to elders, and we are very traditional. But the bottom line is, for me, toxicity is always going to be there. There is no perfect culture.
Parents, make these changes to your relationship with your kids and your family. Nurture the relationship with the hopes that your kids will want to take care of you when you're old, rather than feeling obligated to. That pretty much sums up the video. Once again,
I just remembered something, because some parents also make their kids an investment. When you grow up, you will be the one who's gonna bring our family to the riches. You know what? You need to go to school, finish college, and get a job that will pay well so that our family will become richer than ever. Like, that thing annoys me so much. Why would you make your kids responsible for the failure that you had as a parent? All right, that's it, guys. I mean, I already said everything while I was reacting to the video, so I will not say more. If you enjoyed my reaction, feel free to subscribe. I will not take more of your time. It's getting hot in here. Jeez. Bye.